Josh, welcome back.
Thanks for having me yet again, Kurt.
Yet again, and here we are to talk about doing one thing well.
The KISS philosophy.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. Yep.
Or keep it stupid simple.
Yeah, either way.
Another way I like
either
to
way's
look
fine.
at it. One of my favorite things to talk about with founders and people with these great ideas is about how to get these things off the ground, right? And it's great because you come up with these great ideas and you think of this multitude of things that this thing could do, right? You start to think about how to monetize it, and then multiple ways of monetizing it, and then it has this service, and this service creates this product, and this product creates the service. I think it's great. I think it's important that you have this great vision about how large this thing could be.
Right.
But if I could give some real advice to people, it would be about keeping it super simple.
Yeah. Do one thing really well. This is something that I hear you specifically talk to many people about every day. And you're not the only one. A lot of experts in this space say the same thing, and it is critically important. And I think, yes, it's a very challenging prospect to tell somebody all those things you want to create. They're all great. But what is the one thing this should do? That's challenging for many, many people, but so important, right?
Yeah.
And we deal with this all the time. You talk about businesses like Uber all the time, right?
Uber, Airbnb. The reason why they're successful is not because they had millions of dollars and all these. They had one simple thing, right? I need to get a car to get from A to B, and I need it to be as super simple as possible.
Right.
I need a place to stay, and I need it to be as simple as possible. And then there's the opposite side, right? Where there is that service aspect of like, I have a car and I want to provide I want to make some money when I'm not driving my kids around or something.
Yep.
Or I have a spare room in my house that's just sitting there and I want to make some money off of it. Again, you look at the site or you go through the experience and there's all these things that kind of have been added into the orbit of it, but it's still, you get that one thing done, because if it didn't do that one thing really well, you would have a real problem with it. Facebook, Twitter, all of them are the exact same way. All these ones that are super successful. And while I hear tons of people quote from the gospel of Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg and these things, your customers are going to tell you what that one thing is. What is that one thing you need to get done?
That's the most important thing right there, right? And I think and I know that's the conversation that we have with the founders that come to us is, it's great that you think that this is what your product needs to do. That's great. You have a start,
right?
But your customers are the ones that are going to tell you what it needs to do. And so again, do that one thing really well, build the customer base off of that one thing. And you can keep those additional ideas that you had from the start in mind while you're moving forward, obviously, because you might be right. You might be right that those future iterations are what is needed. But exactly to your point, it should be your customers that are coming on that love that first version that you rolled out, that are telling you, I would use this more if, and I would use this more if, and then you build those into your next product releases, because that is your active user base. If you give them more of what they want, what do you think's going to happen?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, and again, you go back to, I mean, it's a thing that's been around forever. You go to Target and you go in the aisles and they have those, they have everything laid out in a way specifically for you to navigate through that experience. And then when you're leaving, they have these little tchotchkes and little bags and things you might have forgot, batteries and stuff right by the checkout thing, but the whole store isn't focused on that. Those are things that have been added on later. I mean, if you go back and you read things by like Clayton Christensen, where he talks about the jobs to be done framework, talking to people about what they've already hired to solve that problem for them, right? Yeah. And figuring out what are they using right now to solve this problem, because the majority of the time when you identify a problem, a lot of other people might have it, right?
Yep.
But if you identify what is the simplest way to cut through everything and just solve that problem, what happens though is that as you go, your eyes get bigger than your stomach,
right?
And you start looking at all the different opportunities that come about. So one of the ways that I like to look at it is, making sure that I'm testing that idea with one sentence with folks.
Yep.
It is a thing that does this thing.
Yep.
And I will know it's been successful when I measure it this way.
Yep.
It's that simple. If I have this thing and I know it's successful, it's important. The metric side of the thing is, I think, what people also forget about.
Yeah.
And making sure that you've got that one simple approach that is solving that problem. Then later, you can always come back with all sorts of different add-ons
Yep.
and all sorts of different ways of doing things.
Yep.
But I've seen people where it's like, well, it's got to have a login and it's got to register in a profile page and all these things. And it's like, well, how about you just solve the problem for somebody and then let's see if they'll give us their personal information to start an account.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You don't have to go and build a crazy thing. You can build a paper prototype and test it with folks.
What we are noticing in all the discussions that we've had so far is one very common theme that I hope other founders are taking to heart while they're listening to this. We've mentioned listening to your customer in almost every video so far.
Yep.
We're going to continue mentioning listen to your customer as we talk through the additional 3 video series we're doing, especially when we get to the last one, which is after you've rolled out your first product. That's where it becomes even more important. So if there are any founders out there watching this video series that haven't taken the time to listen to their potential customers, please start doing that right now.
Start doing it. I talk to founders all the time that are like, this is going to be this great idea. I'm going to invest all this money and people are going to pay the X amount for this thing. I figured it all out.
Right.
It's all set.
Right.
All we have to do is just hit go.
Right.
And, it's just going to start printing money later.
Yep.
And that's just simply not the case.
Nope.
You need to be out talking with customers and figuring out what you can do. What I say to people is that the best products are the products where people have figured out how much can we take away from it.
Yes.
Not how much can we add to it. The more and more you can pare it back and down to this one thing, and if it's still solid, you've got a great idea.
Yep.
All that other stuff that you can add on later. So how do we figure out what version 1 looks like?
Yeah.
Right? Again, going back and talking to those customers, presenting them with an idea and saying, I know that you have this problem. You don't like to fill up the air in your tires or something. And I've got this new thing that will just magically do it for you. And then start listening and start recording what people are telling you.
Yeah.
They will help you solve that problem.
Yep.
You don't need to just do it all on yourself and present it in some nice shiny package.
No, and I've been through this myself, and it was a really hard moment in my life where I sat down with an advisor, a very high-ranking person at a very large organization. I don't even know how I got the meeting. Presented my grandiose idea of all the things I was going to create. He literally looked at me and said, "This is all great 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. If I were going to challenge you to have something in front of me in 30 days, what would it be?"
Right.
And the first thing I said to him was, "I don't think I could do any of this in 30 days," which turned out to be a really stupid thing to say. Because he then proved to me that there were elements of that I could roll out in 30 days, that I could get in front of people, right? And really simplify that idea. For me, that conversation was really all I needed to get behind this whole idea, right?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I know as a founder myself, it's scary to put stuff in front of people that you feel is not, it doesn't tell the entire story, right? And I totally understand that. And if you're worried about turning people off, do it when you're spending way less money.
Yes.
Than when you're doing it spending a lot of money.
We're going to talk about this a lot in the next series with Nils when we're talking about design, getting into those prototypes. That's the best time to flesh all of this out before you spend any money on development. We talk with people about that all the time here at Foundry. Mm-hmm. That's the time to make those decisions. Test it, and then move into development.
Yep, exactly. Keep it simple.
Yep. Stupid.
Keep it stupid simple.
There you go.
All right, Josh, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Garrett.
It was fun to have you.